Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. And thanks for the invite today. It's nice to be in town for a few days and do something like, I was telling Brian, you know, we have a lot of data and stuff that we mess around with work all the time, and we're always showing it to our customers. It's not often that I get to just share it with people to just have a nice discussion. So I'm going to make sure our technology here is working, and I'm watching the clock over there. So basically, our company, I'm going to have to turn around sometimes because that's pretty far away. So let me see. Yeah, so basically this is our agenda. We're going to talk about the history of the company, basically what our current markets are, what we really do, but then I'd like to spend some time, kind of my favorite subjects are some of the international data and statistics around the world that you probably don't get to read or see in the local news, or some of the stuff you have to really look for to find out what's really going on sometimes in some of these parts of the world. So a little bit about me. Went to Notre Dame, part of a large Catholic family here in Columbia. We all went to Cardinal Newman. I've been married since 1985, but it's funny, you see the statistics, I've traveled about 10 of those years, been on the road. And basically, I didn't realize it. I've spent almost 300 days literally on airplanes. That would be flying time in the last 22 years that I've been traveling. So I've been to a lot of countries, a lot of places that I like to go to, and there's a lot of places I won't go back to. There's a lot of really bizarre places out there, but I don't know if a lot of you have traveled a lot, but I mean, it's exciting, but it can also be quite challenging. Even with technology nowadays, you know, you're basically connected 24/7, so that's sometimes a good thing. But a lot of these countries, just traveling as an American, trying to blend in, and also I'd say nowadays it's better to stay below the radar when you travel to a lot of these countries, because you know you need to be careful. A lot of people, you know, they act like they want to be your friends on the street, but there's a lot of very strange people out there. Let's see here. So our company, we do about 25 million in sales, maybe 28 million this year. We'll see. We do work basically all over the world. For our customer base is large Fortune 500 companies. We have 17 of the Fortune 100 as customers. So we really focus on the big global companies, and we sort of service their signage products around the world, and I'll get into that in a second. So our strategy over the years has been to create a service offering and make ourselves irreplaceable to our large clients. So basically, we might be a small part of the wheel for a big IBM or Microsoft, but we really try to make ourselves important to their process, because all these big companies have processes, and you know, somebody's got to fulfill their needs and do it correctly, do it legally, and do it within correct insurance, safety procedures. So there's a lot of things that go with the business. It's not just making signs. So it's really part of the whole structure of what we do. Let's see. So you can see we have some different offices around the world. We sort of try to at least have one person that our customer base could talk to in each part of the world, as far as China and time zones, Europe, South America. But generally, most of the project management is still done out of South Carolina. We have about 100 people over there off Farrow Road. Most of them are sort of account services, project management, engineering group. And I'll show you what we do, basically. Oh, here, a little history. So really, what's kind of neat is actually, my brother and I are the fourth owners of the business, basically. So the company was originally founded in 1923 by a gentleman named Mr. Height. My dad met him in 1945 after World War II. Soon after that, Mr. Height convinced my dad to buy the company. So my father and his partners pretty much ran the business till pretty successfully. They had their ups and downs, but they did pretty well as a good business until the late 80s. They sold the business in 1990. My dad was 68, ready to retire. So I went to work for the new owners. The rest of my family split off in different directions. So I worked for the new owners. It was going great. 2 years later, they went bankrupt. So basically, through not even real strategy, it's just one of those things that happened. My brother and I kind of just figured out a way to pick up the disastrous pieces that were left over and started over. Literally, if you had walked through the offices, you would think a neutron bomb had gone off. There were literally coffee cups in place, papers, files. It's just like one day everybody left and that was it. They just didn't come back. So we literally started over. Probably around 1998 is when you really started seeing globalization take off. Our company, we pretty much made up our mind in the very beginning to be a corporately focused company. So we said, forget all the little stuff. We're going to just focus on big companies that need good service and need hopefully quality products. So that's where our strategy took us. And really since about year 2001 really has been a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more bigger customers we got, the more bigger customers we kept getting. So we've kind of tried to focus on that strategy. We were in West Columbia until about 2007. We found this empty building over here in the South Carolina Research Park. Until we made up our mind we were going to finally move. Made a huge investment right in that 2007, 2008 period of time, and the economy crashed. 2009 and 10, pretty rough years. Basically, the good news is we were able to sort of right the ship 2011 and haven't looked back. So things are good. We didn't fire all our core people. We kept a lot of the real management brain power of our company during those couple rough years. And now we're just rocking on. Sales are off the chart. Actually, almost too much sales right now, so we kind of deal with that. Sometimes our business, it's a little tricky because you'll see the markets here is you might work on an order in our business, very long sales lead time. So you might literally work on an account for 1 to 2, possibly 3 years in the making. So you can't really predict when you're going to get a big order. So a Microsoft, say, buys a Nokia, all of a sudden that order pops up right off the radar. Or an order like, say, a Holiday Inn, we're working with them for 2 or 3 years before you actually get into the program. So you got our pipeline, the way we look at sales is huge pipeline funnel that eventually focuses down to what orders, become reality. So you can't get them all, but we try to make sure as that pipeline focus comes in to real opportunities, we look at the right orders that fit our company culture. So you can see up here on our markets, corporate market is our biggest market, so it could be anything from American Airlines and Merck, big, huge global companies. Hospitality is a pretty big market, but that's mostly dominated by Holiday Inn, who's one of our bigger customers. Healthcare is an up-and-coming market for us, so we've got a couple of pretty large projects there, one in California, one in St. Louis. These hospital systems have literally hundreds and hundreds of signs that have to be changed. And then the top market is a very difficult market, but very profitable, retail market. So anywhere from the very, very high-end brands like a Cartier to middle of the market brands like Old Navy, Gap, big, huge retailers, but very, very on the high service end. So we sort of have to be careful with that market. It doesn't dominate our thinking because a lot of times you got to be careful what you wish for on some of these orders. You get a giant order from a Gap, and it could take up all your resources at one time. So we try to be, very careful of that. So going back to 1998, we really figured out we were never going to be this giant manufacturer. So we said, okay, how can you play in the global market, but kind of like look big on paper, and then have a decent manufacturing project management skill set in your company. So we finally decided we need to build a service network around the world that we would basically sell as our service partners. So basically you can see that map that's taken at least, since 98, so however many years that is, to build up a real service network of companies like ourselves, mostly family-owned companies, husband-wife teams, anywhere from Brazil, China, Japan, all over the world, to take the time to go see them, get to know them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and find companies that are like-minded, speak English pretty well or communicate pretty well in email. But when we give them an order in those markets, they will perform the work, help us out, with the local services, and then build a relationship with us as a long-term relationship. So this is an ongoing process. This is really our #1 sales tool. So when we go and make a pitch for a huge company, they really want to know, what is this service network? How does it work? How do you manage it? What's the quality control? But we get a lot of orders because of our global ability that our competitors haven't taken the time to do this. So, you know, a lot of people say, oh, I'll just Google some company in Japan. It just doesn't work that way. You know, we build signs, we ship them to China, we ship them to Japan, we make them in China, ship them, we make signs in Germany, ship it throughout Europe. So, I mean, that process is ongoing day to day to day, and it has to be fluid. And people on the other end need to know, what do we expect? So it's really about expectations, quality, and communication. You know, what are you doing? We shipped you the sign, it's going to be installed tomorrow, you know, whatever. So that's very important. So we spend a tremendous amount of time, not just me, other people in the company, traveling to these markets, getting to know our partners, you know, asking them, how's it going? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? And try to make sure the relationship is a two-way street. We pay them well. You know, we give them a lot of flexibility, but the key is they have to perform. And so, you know, there's been plenty of them that we've fired, and, you know, there's plenty of them that we maybe kind of gave up on, and a couple years later try to reinvent the relationship. But it's a huge part of the effort. So what's interesting is this store, Old Navy store, you know, everybody's been to them. They're all over the place. Well, you could walk into that store, those pictures right there, could be Atlanta, San Francisco, wherever. That store is in Shanghai. So part of our effort is Old Navy, you know, good customer, basically part of the Gap company in San Francisco. But we work closely with their design teams, do the design, project management. All those signs are made by our partner in China, installed in China, paid in Chinese currency. We repatriate the profits here, but, you know, it's all part of that big picture. If we couldn't deliver, first of all, Old Navy would never give us that order. They actually tried to, so they try to go local. You know, they don't get the quality they want. So part of our ability is to deliver the quality at a little bit higher than local China prices, but delivering what the people in San Francisco expect for the delivery, the quality, and what the Old Navy look is all about. So huge customer, tremendous potential for us internationally. We haven't done one order for them in the United States. So, you know, it's part of the thing. They have vendors in the US they're happy with, but as far as Asia and Africa and some of these other markets, we're their go-to people. Let's see. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about some of the markets. I mean, so anyway, I'm sorry. So this is very typical. I just want to show you a couple typical orders we just got. We've been working on. That's why we're so crazy busy right now. So American Airlines merges with US Airways. You know, rebrand. Our current order with this particular project is, you know, very, very big order. So most of the airports you will fly into, anywhere from east of the Mississippi, would be our signage. All their hangars globally will be done by us, so it's multi-millions of dollars. You have to be done in October. So those are the things that when we deal with our customers, those dates are not negotiable. We have to program it, you know, bid the job, but also make sure, even, you know, we didn't really bid this job, we were given the job, but the key is you got to deliver. So that's what our people in our culture, in our company, there'll be people working, you know, they'll be freaking out starting October. But, you know, hopefully the whole goal is it all programmed and it's gonna go smoothly when the rebrand date, I think, is October 15th. Another one, very typical. These are the big ones. Medtronic. I'm sure you read about it in the news. There was a big stink about Medtronic merged with Covidien, and then they moved the company's headquarters to Ireland for tax purposes. Big deal. But, you know, those things that's not my problem. My deal is we sell to Medtronic. And, you know, it's a multi-million dollar project. Again, now this one's a little better as we have until next year to finish. So a little longer lead time, but very, very large, complex company. A lot of restrictions, safety, what do you call it? Every one of our employees or even the contractors go on site, drug testing, background checks. I mean, really, really strict guidelines. So really the signage ends up being very simple. For a job like this, it's managing the client. Very, really difficult company. So talking about where we think we're going, or when you look at our sales footprint, Right now, about half of our sales are in the U.S. So you can see North America is a dominant part of our strategy, but the international markets following our international global clients is really where it's at, the growth. So Africa, Latin America, Asia's big and getting bigger. I have some interesting slides coming up on that. But that's kind of where we want to be in 2020. Our hopefully sales will be about 40 million. We're a private company, which I mentioned to somebody earlier, all about paying down debt, being very conservative of where we're going to grow, how we grow, and managing the growth process in case the next recession comes around. You got to be prepared. So if we're going to grow in these sales, how are we going to manage that growth and also maintain reasonable overhead? All right, so this is a really interesting slide. I was putting this together and I was like, God, what do I really think about every day, which is like a lot of stuff, especially when I'm traveling. I actually have more time to think. So just in general, because a lot of the operational issues I'm not involved with. My brother and his team really runs the operations. So I think about what is going on. So, so first of all, you got geopolitical events. There's, just in the last 2 days, I meant to bring the headlines, but bombing in Thailand. The craziness with the Chinese currency, Russia, Ukraine, what else? Brazil's got some serious issues. Just pick up the paper every day. Some of our markets, there's just crazy things going on. I was reading, the Chinese currency has made huge effects to Singapore and other countries. It's just, so there's always these things that every day you think about. So I think about currency fluctuations, very careful in our business. Most of our business in dollars, euros, Hong Kong dollars, maybe some pounds, not that much. So, we do need to be careful what we're doing. But we do some contracts in other currencies, but we sort of manage that with the client and take on a certain risk, currency risk reductions on our side. We do have to be careful there. Think about cultural trends, you think about old, 5 years ago when Old Navy really been building stores in China, so things change fast. One of our largest retail clients is Victoria's Secrets. Incredible company, incredibly profitable. We've done 70 countries for them in 2 years. It's unbelievable. They came out of nowhere, but great brand. But they made a commitment to go international, and now they're going to building I figure like 2,000 stores. Like I mentioned earlier, the partner development process is huge for us. And then internal issues, it's always management structural issues we try to deal with. I want to talk a little bit about that. And one of the things Pete and I have really learned, I'd say, since the recession is we made a lot of bad assumptions when we moved to that new building. So, part of it was self-inflicted, part of it you could blame a recession or whatever, but yeah, we had some bad data about our overhead, what our real markets were, so we made a lot of changes in our sales structure. Actually, the entire sales team is basically turned over in the last 4 years. Got a great team now, but really, it's all about measuring data. So we measure everything in our company now. Pipeline, sales wins, losses, margins, all this stuff. So when people come to our meetings in our company, it's all about, data. We discuss the information, and I don't know if you can read that little line at the bottom. A friend of mine told me that, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And that's just so true. People come to meetings, well, not anymore, but people would come in and say, oh yeah, this customer, yeah, this is what I think's going on. Well, do you think that's going on, or is that what's really going on? So, it's the culture, the first step in that reinvigoration of where we were since trying to change the focus of the company was, what are you measuring? What are you working on? And are you wasting your time working on things that don't mean anything? So nowadays, meetings in our company are actually very short, because if you don't start out the meeting with some data, the meeting's over. We don't even talk, So I think it's a good cultural thing to have, you work with information. So we talk about all the time. I guess our employees are probably sick of hearing these things, but it's where it's at. We're using technology in everything we do. Spend a lot of money right now on technology, upgrading equipment. We talk about speeding things up in our company. Let's see, January 1, 2014, we implemented a whole new computer system, software system within our company. absolute nightmare, pain in the butt, but it's worth it, you know? Everybody bitched about it everybody complained about it for a long time. First 6 months was absolute, just, I wanted to kill everybody. But now, you know, a year later, everybody said, oh my God, the system's so great. Yeah, really? So it's continual, it's never ending. So efficiency, product innovation, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And then to me, I love this slide, it's adaptability. We've learned I think we've done a good job learning how to adapt. And I've got a couple little quotes here. So, you know, Charles Darwin, not the strongest species that survives, the ones that adapt. And I'm absolutely, when I look at some of our customers around the world and I deal with some really crazy companies and really good companies, it's amazing when you see how big players are trying to adapt in these markets. And one of our biggest customers, you know, we deal with Microsoft, Apple. You couldn't think of two different companies, you know, but they're both good at certain things. But I mean, the way they think and the way they operate is just completely different. So it's just amazing so we have to adapt to those companies. We're so small, I mean, we can't tell Microsoft, you know, they give us a contract, they tell us what they want us to do, we do it. Now, Apple, they tell us these things, you know, so everybody's got different things they want us to do. We just got to learn to figure out how do we make money at it. And then I like this one too. You know, it's just, seriously, people, like my brother Pete says all the time, it's our job to tell our customers what could they want. Not maybe they think they know what they want, but what are the cool things that are coming up that they don't even know about. They know signage, they know lighting, but there's a lot of cool technology out there, and we got to research things and then show it to our customers when we think is right, and to save them money. And I'll show you some of the ideas that I think are going to be huge going forward. In my mind, in the signage, renewables is going to be huge, absolutely huge. Off-grid solutions, we're looking at a lot of parking lot lighting. You can see here, this one's in Europe. It's a product that we're researching right now. Basically a wind turbine on top of a light pole, very typical. I mean, there's gazillions of light poles in this country, wasting electricity like you wouldn't believe. These types of solutions to be completely off-grid, sustainable power, no, you know, once the investment is made, no power costs at all. So these are things that we're testing for our customers. Some of our customers own thousands and thousands of parking spaces. You got to light it, but some of the things that they're doing now is just ridiculous. They're wasting so much money and energy. This is a cool little video. So I know it's kind of hard to see, but that's a wind turbine in Taiwan that our first ones are being delivered next week. And so what it is it's a little turbine, vertical turbine, which is kind of elegant looking. It sits on top of a light pole, LED light, totally off-grid. You know, it's just really cool things. Those are the things that people need to think about. Maybe 2 or 3 years from now, but 10 years from now, all those solutions will be off-grid, I think, in our business. This is, that's just another little bit better picture. You can see it. Let's see. This is interesting. Oops. All right, so how do I, you got to start that one, right, Billy? Okay. This is a new product that we're, let's see if it gets going. Is it not working? Just a short little video. Hang on. It's a new product that would be used in very large signage. It's kind of a wind turbine concept also. And you know, these are like the visitor was here, I think Friday, showing us these things, and I was like, wow, that is really cool. But going from cool to usable, two different things. So that's what we got to do, is we spend a lot of money now testing some of these items. I guess, I hope it's going to work. Oh, it's not working? Okay, well, shoot, all right. Let's see. Oops. All right, well, what I would do is, actually, I'll tell you a little story. The guy that was visiting me yesterday, again, talking these technologies, is everybody wants to look at renewables. So if a signage is on a building, you know, it's using X number of watts and amperage per year, how do they either lower that to the minimum or look at off-grid solutions? So one of the ideas we were looking at yesterday is actually, it's a solar panel battery system inside a sign box that the LED lights are charged by a battery. They illuminate the solar panel, which is inside, so it's not even in the sun. The lights shine on the solar panel, it bounces back to the battery, and the sign is literally lighting itself. It's totally off-grid. So, I mean, those are really cool ideas. Just talking about now, we're going to talk about a little bit about global politics. I'm going to watch my time. I got 10 minutes. Yeah, 196 countries. If you Google, maybe some of them say 200. But yeah, it's really, really amazing when you look at the world's markets. I thought this was fascinating. So think about it. The United States has been the largest economy in the world for almost 200 years. Right after Civil War, we became the largest economy in the world. So think about who are the three players now. So it's United States, China, and then up and coming will be India. Well, look at the chart for the last 400 years. Same countries. Isn't that cool? This is really interesting too. I mean, sometimes I don't really think about these things. So the world economy, $77 trillion, right? So United States, of course, the biggest, 16 trillion, 17 trillion. Look where it drops off though. After United States, China, look at the whole European Union is equal about to our economy. So when I look at growth and look at the markets, but look at India and Africa, long way to go. But you'll see in some of the slides, that's where a lot of the growth is going to be. Global competitive index is kind of interesting, just for fun, just saying who are the most competitive countries in the world. So, you know, United States third, it's good. You know, the first two, okay, they're competitive, but they're really small markets. But, you know, Switzerland's not they're a global player in pharmaceuticals, but not really in manufacturing like us. This is also interesting, is looking at the global corruption index. You know, this all plays into it when you think about growth. So, United States is 20, Denmark number 1. But yeah, look at China, Mexico, India, way down there. So, you know, if you look at that chart, there's a lot of red, and that's, to me, major caution mark when we look at these markets, how we operate, safety, security, but also I look at it as opportunities. And when we talk about the global competitiveness, you know, Africa, you know, billion people, no infrastructure, they're going to skip, you know, places like that, they're going to completely, and even parts of India, they'll skip the traditional grid that we have. They won't have SCE&G hooking up their house electricity. They won't even have phone lines. They're going to skip right over to mobile phones, off-grid solutions. That other infrastructure stuff doesn't exist. So that's where you got to think about. Where could you use wind turbines? Off-grid solutions, Africa, India, Brazil, other places. They don't have the infrastructure we do. You know, we're so spoiled in some ways. You just get in a store, get in a car, drive to Walmart, buy whatever you want. A lot of these countries, you might drive 2 hours to a store that, 1/3 the size of a Walmart and 1/10 of the, selection. This is amazing. Actually, look at this slide. Of the global 2,000 companies, 564 headquartered in the United States. And then look where it drops off. So look at like Africa, very few, but basically the other big players are Japan, China, Germany, England. But if you look at this, so the global 2,000 companies, how much heavily concentrated in maybe the top 5 or 6 of those bubbles. Pretty amazing when you think about that. The rest of the world, 7 billion people, and how many of the biggest companies are headquartered in just a few of the big countries. Let's see. All right, Billy, is that thing? There we go, I'm sorry. All right, this one's interesting too. Again, it shows you where the growth is. The bottom chart, there's still good growth in the United States, but Asia Pacific, it basically shows you the big growth. All is going to be in Asia and India. Africa eventually have growth, but it's got a lot more risk to it, but the big growth is Asia. This is interesting too, because this one's sort of the inverse of the corruption index. This is where net inflows of investment. So you see the green countries is where companies are investing. So if you took where our customers and a lot of our orders are, you'll see there's in the lighter color areas, there's not much investment. This is also really cool. I hadn't really thought much about the mega cities, but I was in a presentation on it once. This is where all the big mega cities were. I think it's 20 million plus people. Look at that, only 3 in North America, 17 in Asia. So again, the mega cities where, China, there's cities, 20, 25 million people that aren't even on the coast. So you got, of course, the big ones, Beijing, Shanghai, but you got other big cities, 10, 15, 20 million people. Most, a lot of people never heard of. So that's again showing you where the growth is and the population growth. That's the key. This map is kind of interesting, so it kind of follows up that one. Is if you look at the world, this map is kind of cool, is what they do is they took the world land mass and make it proportional to the number of people. So again, it just kind of reinforces Asia as big time growth because of the people. You know, the United States has all, you know, like again, go back, look how small we would be based on our population, but we have 560 headquarters of the Global 2000. So again, that's where the leadership is with the technology and you know, a lot of the innovations that are happening in the United States. And then this is really interesting too because it shows you the 100-year growth of populations is where the countries are getting older. So if you look at the chart all the way to the left, you'll see that certain countries fall off the chart in the year 2050. France, England, Japan, they're aging. And you look at the countries where the growth is, where Russia pretty much disintegrates. So you'll see, well, luckily the United States still stays up there, goes from 3 to 4, but it shows you the population growth, though. Still India, China, Africa, Latin America young. So I look at a lot of these charts, you know, where the young population is where a lot of the growth will be. It's not going to, Japan might have maybe stagnant growth or negative growth in the future because they don't have enough people and because they don't have enough young people to actually make things. So their problem is the aging, like Russia, besides all the corruption and the other issues, is their aging population, or people are leaving, they're not coming in. That's going to hurt them in the future. And then it's just a couple fun pictures. There's some very interesting places in the world. I mean, I was like, God, I travel all these places. I should have some pictures. So it was really cool, though. People can generally be, I mean, it's great to be an American traveler. It's fun. We're buying some things from these kids in the middle of nowhere in Peru. I love this picture. This is a guy in India. We're riding down the street in Delhi on our tuk-tuk. And, you know, there's a guy going down the street with a load of bricks. You know, it'd be like going down Two Notch Road here if you put it in comparison. And you're just like, wow, that's incredible. Where do you see these things, you know? But the guy, you're like, wow, where is he going with those bricks, you know? I mean, it's just like incredible. So, and this is, you know, what I love is, you know, get in a tuk-tuk in Delhi, you know, and that guy's name was Ajit, you know, great guy. I gave him 20 bucks and he rode us around all day. You know, just a great guy. It was fun. It was a really, really nice time. And we weren't killed in a car accident. But also, I mean, but if you look at, you know, Dubai, tallest building in the world. You know, there's incredible, you know, even though Middle East has got its issues, an incredible amount of investment there. And they got to invest their money somewhere. So if they're not going to invest in the United States, they're going to invest it there. And you'd be surprised how many investors from the Middle East, hell, I mean, building stuff everywhere. They got to do something with the money. So it's about following the real estate infrastructure. And then we were in Indonesia. You know, I don't know how, really, you know, some great old tempo, just kind of around as hot as you can imagine, even hotter than South Carolina. And, you know, we just swarmed by a bunch of little kids, you know, hey, we're going to take a pictures of some Americans, you know. So it was fun, you know, just people were generally, you know, very, very nice. You just, like I said, you just got to always have your wits about you. Don't go get drunk and wander around the streets of India at night, you know, acting like an idiot, because you'll get killed or you'll get run over, you know. I think the biggest fear is most of these countries, I'm always worried, is not necessarily getting mugged or something like that, is getting in a car wreck. That's always the scariest part. India, China, a lot of these countries, I mean, the roads are horrible, really horrible, and the driving is worse. So generally, you know, you just say, God, I don't want to be in a car accident because being in one of their hospitals would be very scary. All right, questions? I think we got 7 minutes, so we did good. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if 3D printing is beginning to have any impact on your business.
It actually has a little bit. We've been using it, a group here, Zverse, and trying to do a few little things, but it hasn't come up a lot. But yes, I think that could be very interesting for the future. Yes, sir.
In terms of it sounds like your supply chain is a big, what's the, do you have issues with suppliers becoming competitors and cutting you out? You know, it sounds like
very, very rarely. So when we visit those companies, number one is our customers are so complicated anyway, that for them to try to hire one of our suppliers in India or China, or they just wouldn't do it. Our customers are so spoiled that they want stuff down now and yesterday, so they wouldn't really go around us. So I don't really worry about that. Yeah.
How's your labor costs in China?
Well, actually, it's our partner there in Shanghai is he's done a good job. He's about, his typical product pricing is about half of ours when we look at it dollar for dollar. But their costs are going up, actually, a lot.
my nephew's company has to go in.
I'm telling you, the management, though, you can build stuff cheap there, whatever, they make iPhones cheap, but if you don't have a great infrastructure, quality control is a nightmare. It really is. You got to stay on top of them. And we visit there all the time. And it's expensive. Very, very expensive to go over there. And hotels are expensive, food's expensive. If you want to eat in a Western style, it's very expensive. If you ever get a chance, just Google the most expensive cities in the world, and you'll find a lot of them in Asia. Yeah. So, one more question? Good? All right, thank you.